So how much money can you make whenever you start a commercial cleaning business? Is it even possible to be taking home six figures or even multiple six figures within your first year? Well, you're about to see some real numbers. This isn't a video about theory. This is gonna be actual results. And in fact, they're gonna be my results. So real quick, if you don't know who I am, my name's Matt. I'm a seven-figure commercial cleaning CEO. Started our commercial cleaning company from scratch, and we are up into the seven figures now. So in this video, you're gonna see my month by month numbers from month 0, from the very start, all the way up to month 12, to that entire 1 year period of starting our entire commercial cleaning company. What did our numbers look like? How profitable were we? How much money could I decide to take home? And not only are you going to get to see the numbers and what you should be aiming for in your commercial cleaning company, but you are also going to get some helpful tips along the way. Now, before we do dive into the numbers and talk about the possibilities for your business, I do want to take a moment and thank God for the results that we got within our business. Okay, so month 1, my wife and I had recently moved to the area. I had no prior contacts. This is coming in completely cold turkey into a market. I wasn't totally sure what I was doing, but I had owned some other businesses in the past in a different area of the United States. Now, those businesses had not been wildly successful, but had given me great experience that I came into this with. And it is also worth noting at this point, I had and invested in multiple mentors throughout my business ownership career. So I had no contacts, but I had a little bit of knowledge to apply to the market. So we launched our business in month 1, and I had some Google ads running. I was doing it completely wrong, but I was very fortunate to pick up our first deal, which was a one-time deep cleaning for approximately $1,000. Now, because it was just me, you can look here and see the gross profit, which is just what was left over after the cleaning supplies for that, was almost $1,000 as well, because I didn't have to pay employees at this point. It was just me. I had to go buy some supplies and take care of things. But month 1 wasn't just about that first deal and getting a little bit of cash in the veins. I also started my interviewing process at that time. I targeted part-timers who were looking for work in the evenings so that they could make extra money on top of their day job. So that's what I was looking for at this time. And aside from that, I really wasn't too sure how to spend my time. So I did try to find like an association to attend. And I did try delivering some food and some gifts to different offices. And all of that's going to start panning out later, as you'll see. And that brings us to month 2. And actually, I'm going to show you month 3 as well, because you can see here that we did the exact same numbers back to back, which was kind of discouraging a little bit because I was hoping to have some sort of growth in month 3. But for those 2 months there, month 2 and 3, it was an urgent care deal that we had landed from an association group I had attended and made friends with the urgent care manager. And just like with month 1, you can see my profitability was pretty high because it was just me doing the cleanings. Now, before we get into month 4, I was actually doing the cleanings in this scenario because of my family situation. I needed to make the money, had to make the business work. So I was out there hustling, doing these cleanings 3 days per week. And on one of those days, I focused on doing some of the marketing, like with the food delivery and associations and things like that. Now, month 4 is where things really started to change. And this is how I knew I was onto something, because now we were going to land our first large contract. And thankfully we did so, because that urgent care backed off one of their locations that was pretty far away down to a once per week clean. But at the same time, we landed a 5-day per week clean of a very prestigious local medical office. It wasn't massive, but it was almost $4,000 per month. This is what allowed me to start taking home a decent wage for myself. And this contract took me about 4.5 to 5.5 hours to clean, depending on how rough the day was. So here I was working approximately 28 hours per week, doing the cleanings myself, taking home about $4,000 a month. So that's where I had to make a decision. Do I start bringing on employees and cutting those earnings down? Or do I keep as much as I can for myself? Well, I decided that in order to grow, I needed to get out of cleaning. And now that I had these accounts in place, I could hire some stable employees. Now, it's also important to note, you don't have to wait until you have a 5-day per week account in order to bring on any employees. I was doing this because I still needed to make at least a certain amount of money to help my family out and to get through this startup period. So that brings us to month 5. And here's where we jump almost to $6,000 per month. But you'll also see here my earnings went down. And that is because I brought in employees. But now I wasn't having to do the cleanings all the time. But I still stepped in and helped out with the cleanings every once in a while. And by the way, that jump is also due to some of those deals that were in the pipeline from month 1, 2, and 3. You got to work with your accounts. You got to follow up with them, build the relationships, build the rapport, and they eventually come around, which you're going to see what happens near the end of the year. It's absolutely wild. So let's see what month 6 looks like. Well, initially it looks good, right? We crossed over that $6,000 per month threshold. I crossed the $5,100 per month gross profit level. So all seems great, right? We're making a lot more money compared to where we were the month before. But the problem is, if you look at that, the ratio for profit compared to the previous month is a lot higher. And that is because I did something that caused my 2 core team members to bail on me. Because I knew about all these other accounts that were going to be coming on and we're going to be hiring all these people, I was trying to forecast what profits should be, and I got all tied up in efficiency at this point, which isn't bad to do, but here's what I did. I'm ashamed to admit it. I followed each team member around with a stopwatch. I started timing how long it took them to do an exam room. I started timing how long it took them to do a bathroom. I started timing how long it took them to vacuum this hallway and to do this certain area. And all that did was tick them off. So early on in month 6, there was a day where we had all these accounts and all these cleanings stacked up, and they both bailed on me. It was left just for me to do. So I went from working all day on marketing and managing to then the shift started where they were supposed to be cleaning. And I thought they were cleaning up to a point. I came to check in on them and they weren't there. Well, actually, let me correct that. One of them was there. The other one had bailed. The one who was there knew it. And then once he saw me, he said, let me go out to my car and grab something real quick. And then he drove off and never came back. So I remember in that moment realizing I was going to be cleaning all night. I was going to be up for about 24 hours because I had started earlier on that day. And this day was just going to be a very, very long one. And there was moments there where I really wanted to quit, where I really doubted what we were doing, where I was thinking, why even do this anymore? Is it worthwhile? But I just knew I had something in the back of my head that just said, if you stick with it, it's going to work out. And I'd encourage you to do the same. You're going to come to those moments where you doubt everything that you're doing. Stick with it. If you don't quit, you can find a way. You can get through it. So I got home at 5 a.m. after that. Slept for what little I could, and actually had a quote to do the next day, 3 hours later. So that then leads here into month number 7. Now, what's odd here with month 7 is you can see we had great growth on our top line. We went from 6,700 up to 9,600, but my gross profit dropped below where we were at when we had a 6,700 top line. Now, why is that? Well, there's something you have to remember whenever you own a business, and that is that every once in a while, there's an extra payroll period. So if you pay your staff weekly, that means that there's going to be an extra week of pay that people receive money and it comes out of your account. That's going to happen every 3 months. And at this point, we were paying our employees every other week, so they received 3 payrolls in that month. So considering that, our profitability was still quite high because I had just started recruiting a new team in place. And here's how I went about it this time. This time, I hired 3 part-timers that were each targeted to work approximately 20 hours per week or so. They could flex around that a little bit, a little more, a little less, depending on the time. And once I got those 3 part-timers trained really, really well, and I treated them very well. I brought them food. I brought them their favorite dessert. I welcomed them with warm arms. I did not follow them around with a stopwatch. They soon grew very loyal to how I was treating them and growing the business. And they would become the official base from which the company would be built. Because now, once they bought into how I was training and how they were treated, and the culture started with them, now whenever new employees came in, they could do the training. Now that they were trained so well, and I spent a lot of time with each of them, they could do inspections. And it was far easier for me to back off of the business at that point and not be there every single evening during the cleanings. If I had learned that lesson sooner, if I'd had those systems and processes and practices in place sooner, I would never have gone through that hard, traumatic experience, and I could have had employees running my company far faster. So that then brings us to month 8. We had a slight bump on the top line. I believe it's a little bit because we added a nice account, but also lost one of those urgent cares going back to once a week. That urgent care chain was going through a hard time that year. And that is why you have to have marketing practices and marketing systems in place that don't burn you out, but that keep clients coming to you. Because you don't know whenever a new manager is going to come into one of your clients and they're going to start cutting expenses left and right and just doubt everything that's going on. You also don't know if any of your clients are financially struggling like that urgent care was. And on the flip side, you get some clients that get bought out by larger companies and they bring in their national chain and they're just going to sub everything out through that national chain. So even if you're doing an incredible job and you have an incredible relationship with all of your clients, you're still going to lose some. And that's what you're seeing play out in month 8. Our marketing is keeping us afloat and growing us while sometimes decay happens unexpectedly. And on a bigger plus side, you can see that the cash that I could now take home was a lot greater. Now let's enter into where things really started to change. What you're about to see is the results of marketing that I had been doing that was only taking me a couple hours a week up to a max of 5 hours per week that had been going on from month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And specifically, these results are from the marketing from months 1 through 6. So here we go, the beginning of the ramp up, month 9. We finally crossed that $10,000 per month mark. We jumped beyond $12,000 a month. Now you'll see here that I actually fattened up our staffing a little bit because I anticipated all of these deals that were coming. In fact, I had one deal that was going to be a 6-figure deal, which we do get, and you'll see when it comes in. But they had been going back and forth with me for almost 6 months at this point. Very early on, they had said they wanted to use us. They approved the price, and they said they'd get back to me. And then a month went by, and I heard nothing. And then I reached out, and they said they'll get back with me. And it just kept going like that. Well, now we had the notice at this point that in 30 days, we were going to become their commercial cleaning company. So right here is when we started preparing for that. So we fattened up our staff. And no, we didn't just feed them a lot. I just hired some extra people and had them in training at this point. So that's why the profitability here in month 9 is almost equal to month 8, but the top line is higher. So now let's reveal month 10, where it starts to hit. We crossed $10,000 per month in month 9, actually hitting $12,000 a month. And then we immediately crossed $20,000 per month in month 10. So it was an incredibly exciting moment when that happened. Yes, you can cross over $20,000 per month in under a year. Now, when you look at the profitability side, why is it so low? Well, remember that payroll principle where you're going to have that extra one hit every once in a while? Well, we had a big one hit right there, which you're going to see is dramatically made up for in this next month. So as crazy as it was to jump $8,000 per month in a single month, this next one, we jumped 12. Look here in month 11, over $32,000 for that month. And now look at this profitability, over $15,000. At this moment, I was not sure what to do with myself. And honestly, this was the first time I had come across money in this magnitude. So there was a pride issue that happened inside of me that God had to deal with. But you got to realize this is almost $200,000 per year that I could just decide to do whatever I wanted with. Now, of course, you got taxes. And by the way, taxes on 200 grand is not a lot of fun. But if you own a business, it's a lot better. But if you've never experienced numbers like this, much less in your first year, you have to remember this is because of activities that were going on months 1 through 6, some of months 9 through 10. But really, it was all of those conversations, all of those deals, all of those follow-ups that were now starting to truly pay out. And if I can encourage you, if you're thinking of starting your own commercial cleaning company, or you're in the middle of it, it just doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, don't stop. You have to keep following up with the opportunities that you have at your hands. The goal is to be next in line. And I got in a whole lot of valuable lines. They weren't ready when I got to them initially, but as you can see, within an 11-month period, they were ready. Okay, so now the big reveal, how much money can you be making within 12 months of starting your commercial cleaning company? Well, I don't know. That's up to you, whether you want to do something that works and follow a proven plan, or you want to figure it out on your own. But here's how my business did. Over $46,000. And by the way, this is recurring. We're not doing any one-time work, project work, strip and waxes, carpet cleanings. We're doing none of that. This is purely recurring and 98% medical. So how much was the gross profit on this that I could decide to do whatever I want with? Well, here you go. Over $25,000. In 1 month, there was over $10,000 added per month to my recurring income. And there was over $14,000 per month added to our business. Now, to be clear, I didn't know that this is how it was going to work out. When this happened, it was shocking, life-altering, life-changing. I was already shocked and having a life-altering experience after hitting the $15,000 amount that I could choose to do whatever I wanted with. But to now have that gross profit being beyond 300 grand per year, that was a big deal. And again, I must say my heart was not ready to deal with it, and the Lord had to deal with me on that. But I'm not here to preach a sermon. I just want you to see what is possible within your first year of starting a commercial cleaning company. And if you've been doing this for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you haven't reached these levels, you've got to know it's possible. And here's the kicker to this. Almost all of that revenue, and therefore all of that profit, was paid to us at the beginning of the month for that month's services. I wasn't waiting around for checks. So the bigger that we grew, the faster we could go. Now, I'm sure there are other entrepreneurs out there who have grown faster than ours. And also keep in mind, this isn't a market where there were no connections, no relationships, had no one to do me any sort of favors. This is just starting from scratch. The only thing I had to lean on was some experience and some mentors from the past. Look, I don't know where you're at in your life and exactly why you want to start a commercial cleaning company, but all I can tell you is it changed my life. And if you want the total strategy and how everything works and my help to do it, you can check out the links down below. And actually, it's improved since then because this was me just starting, right? I was figuring everything out. It's even better now we know even more about how to grow commercial cleaning companies at this point. But if you don't want my help, that's totally fine. Just I encourage you, keep trying, don't quit. And if you're very early on, and you want to know how to take those first steps to get your commercial cleaning company going, go watch this video where I show you exactly what you need to do, give you some steps along the way to get the ball rolling. Again, I'm Matt, your commercial cleaning CEO, here to help you build an incredible commercial cleaning company that can change your life just like what happened to me. If you like this video, please share it, like, and subscribe. And until next time, keep building.